Hello? Say something, sir.
The skin on the top of my fucking ear is peeling off.
Yeah. We're good. We're good. Let me send this out to YouTube.
Does it not do that automatically?
Hit start.
You give Xander your fucking banking info and it doesn't even do that automatically?
It should do it automatically as soon as I go live if I set it that way. It should be an option for me to automatically send it out to YouTube, Xander, when I start. That should be an option. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the journey, the quest to review every single episode of The X-Files. Today we're having a look at the Season 3 finale, Talitha Cumi, which in Aramaic means little girl, get up, from Mark chapter 5, verse 4, when Jesus healed the little girl who had died. Pretty interesting episode here. You know, maybe not on the same caliber as the last season finale, which was Anasazi. But still a pretty good season finale. Some pretty interesting stuff in here. From the brothers Kazmarov, Dostoevsky references out the ass here, there, boys. To the Grand Inquisitor and to the title of the... So, the opening scene starts off at the Brother K restaurant. So right away we're getting the illusions, right?
Is it? You know, I never would have caught that.
You know,
I didn't notice that.
It opens at the Brother K restaurant, so we're getting the heavy allusions here to Brothers Kasparov by Dostoevsky there. Some interesting stuff. The scene starts, there's this, like, mentally ill, fucking crazy guy who's just got fired from his job. It's like, they don't...
He's just sitting at the table in the restaurant, just muttering to this woman at another table. He's just looking at him like he's insane. What was he saying?
He was saying shit like, they don't appreciate me, man. I put in all this fucking work and they don't appreciate me. And the other woman's looking at him like, oh, fuck, you're some crazy motherfucking cocksucker.
You know, he's looking around doing one of these, talking to different people in the restaurant.
You know. And he fucking pulls out it. So I pull out my gun. So he fucking whips out his gun. And he's like threatening to shoot motherfuckers and shit like this. And then...
He lets the children go because he has a conscience about it.
Yeah. But then the Jeremiah Cohen character steps out. And they filmed this...
Jeremiah Smith.
Jeremiah Smith? Alright, Jeremiah Smith.
I think that's a play on Joseph Smith.
I don't know, maybe. But I do know that the way they filmed this scene, they did it with like steady cam, so they shot the other scenes without steady cam in the diner, and then they shot his scene with steady cam, and then they shot it deliberately at a faster frame rate, and then slowed it down so that it would appear as he entered the scene to kind of be in like a slow motion move, so that like he almost had a messianic figure to him as he was entering the diner scene.
Maybe it turns out in the end that the aliens are from the planet Kolob.
Maybe that's what's going to happen.
You know, and this guy, Jeremiah Smith, got the revelation. He dug it up.
Based. So he comes up to the shooter and he's like, my son, it's time to stop, or some shit like this. He's like, give me the gun, you know? It's okay, you're not a loser. And he's like, the guy's still spazzing out, but like he manages to de-escalate him, and he's just about to get the gun, and then Buddy just goes, no! And he fucking starts executing everybody in the
some idiot just walks in the restaurant all nonchalant.
You know, and so then he just spazzes, he starts fucking shooting people, and then what's his face? The shooter himself gets shot. But it's okay because Jeremiah stoops down, and with the palm of his hand, he heals each of the people in the restaurant. He heals their wounds, just like he's Jesus in Mark 5. I think that's what they're kind of going for here with the title of the episode, and they have this guy heal, and we cut to the fucking X-Files theme, and then we come back, and Mulder and Scully are investigating. They're like, how did you let this guy go? Where is he? They're like, well, he just disappeared. What? You know, so they look back on the tape, and like this.
Well, there is the scene with Mulder sitting down with the shooter in the cop car, and the shooter says that it was God that healed him. You know, and it shows the human, like, things that we don't understand that have more of a paranormal nature. It's easy for us to attribute them to God or different religious ideas, right? We just have that natural tendency. So it shows how, like, these alien hybrids, because they have these miraculous powers, like the normal person will attribute that to they are gods. Because they have miraculous powers that the normal person just doesn't understand, right? So it shows a good example of that.
Yeah, it's some interesting stuff there. But then they look back at the tape, and he's being interviewed by the police. A truck passes by the camera, and as it leaves the frame, suddenly he's gone. You know, it's a different person standing where he was in the same clothes. And they're like, what the fuck? Now, obviously, when we watch the rest of the episode, you understand that he can shapeshift and shit like this, but they're just totally baffled by this. Now, honestly, when you think about it, after the experience they had with the alien bounty hunter and the shapeshifting and stuff like this, I'm surprised Mulder didn't go, well, that's a shapeshifting alien. But he's just doesn't even consider that possibility, which is kind of strange, you know.
Yeah, and you see that. Like, they see Mulder and Scully experience really outlandish things, but then in the next episode, they, like, bring everything back to, like, they're trying to do rational explanations. You do see that from time to time, right? The regression there.
Yeah. So, they're trying to track down Jeremiah, right? The cigarette-smoking man.
Well, then there's the scene with Mulder's mother at the cottage.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about this.
Yeah.
So, cigarette-smoking man goes up to Mulder's mother's place.
Well, she's walking through their, like, family cottage that they haven't been to for years. And the cigarette-smoking man comes up and asks her. He's going to need her to remember. But, like, he hints, you know, he talks about, like, how he used to go there to the Mulder's family summer home when they were younger, and, like, the Mulder children are running around. And he says that he used to go water skiing with Mulder's dad, and he was a better water skier. And he says to her, just like many other things, you know. And it just hints that fucking he cocked Mulder's dad, you know. And maybe he's Mulder's father.
Dad, you know. Some real Darth Vader fucking twist here. You know, I wouldn't be too surprised.
I bet you that's what's going to happen. The cigarette-smoking man's going to be fucking Mulder's dad in the end, his real father.
I don't know if that'll be the case. I think it'll be hinted at that it might be, but we'll see. I mean, the thing about it is that the X-Files doesn't really seem... It's not really giving us, like, answers more so than it raises more questions.
The reason I say that also is later on in the episode when she's in the hospital and he comes in to visit and he talks about how he knew his mother since before, like, he was
born, yeah.
Like, there's more than just this one hint in this scene, right?
Yeah. But then you see from the distance that they're being photographed. It kind of goes into this POV shot from a camera. It turns out it was X photographing them there. After this scene, Mulder's mother ends up having like a stroke or some shit like this, and she ends up in the hospital. Mulder's blaming the fucking cigarette-smoking man for it because he gets the photos from X showing that the cigarette-smoking man was there.
Yeah, and they're just having this big argument. It's just a strange coincidence. Like, you even think, like I still question whether it was him or not that made her have a stroke. They could have used some electromagnetic fucking weapon or some shit to induce a stroke in her. You know?
Yeah, it could have been fucking anything, really.
Or maybe X gave her the stroke.
Maybe he did and then blamed it on the cigarette-smoking man, right?
You know, that might be it.
So, meanwhile, Mulder and Scully are doing this research, and they find out that, like, there's like many Jeremiah Cohens.
No, they don't find that out
Till the
later.
end? Is that
but
the
they
end?
go in and they visit Mulder's mom in the fucking hospital, and she can't speak or anything, but she writes palm on a piece of paper. And you think she must be talking about the fucking, like, the guy that healed with his palm. You know, that's not it, but even Mulder thinks that. Mulder ends up going back to the summer home to look all around for whatever the fuck, you know, and he has the palm note, and he figures out it's a fucking anagram for lamp.
He smashes the lamp. He gets the alien weapon out of there. So that's what the cigarette smoking man was going to Mulder's mother for. At least that's what we assume. Maybe there was something else to their conversation, but it's pretty clear that
and they're looking for Jeremiah Cohen, meanwhile. I mean, Jeremiah Smith. And then friggin', you see he's in his workplace, and in comes the cigarette smoking man.
So he gets up from his desk and tries to leave out through the emergency door, but there's agents waiting for him, and they take him into custody. And they put him in a fucking cell where he's like fucking locked into a fucking chair, you know, like Hannibal Lecter style within his cell. You know, they've got him on fucking hard lockdown. And there's some great scenes, 2 scenes that we see, and we may as well just take them up as a whole in terms of the episode, where it's this big reference back to the Grand Inquisitor, the poem in Dostoevsky's Karamazov Brothers, where you have this sequence where the cigarette smoking man is arguing that human beings can't be trusted with freedom, that they need to be led, that they need to have authority, and even if they're misled and they live in ignorance, just like the Grand Inquisitor argued, they'll be happier, they'll be better off under the control of the guiding authority, just like the Grand Inquisitor in that sequence would say the church, you know, is more important than Christ himself, because it's that authority for the people, and it doesn't matter if they're living in ignorance. And he tries to argue, you know, that it's better off this way, but he's saying that, you know, they're not having any sort of fulfillment or spiritual fulfillment. There's a lot of theological things going on here, discussion of God and why the people don't believe in God. Is it because he doesn't directly show them revelations and miracles and things like this? It's a really, really good set of scenes.
Yeah, and the cigarette smoking man says that science is their religion.
Yeah. You know, this is a very, very good scene. One of the best scenes, I think, in the entire season. And Jeremiah turns into Deep Throat at one point to taunt him. Turns into Mulder's father. He ends up having the final showdown with the cigarette smoking man. Because where it begins is the cigarette smoking man is telling him you can't put your personal self-interest or indulgences ahead of the project, ahead of the greater goal. And Jeremiah explains to him that he's dying of lung cancer. And what the final closing sequence is of this is, I think the cigarette smoking man chooses his own self-interest and his own indulgences of being cured of the cancer over the project, and he lets him go.
Well, for sure.
He lets him go.
And the guy is talking to the cigarette smoking man about like how many people must die for you to ensure your position in this colonization or whatever, you know. And it shows like how people will give in to the authority. They think that like if they help them get what they want, that they'll be ensured a place. Like, if I help the New World Order, if I help the globalists achieve their goals, well, they'll give me a position of power. But no, realistically, they're just going to kill you, right? But the cigarette smoking man is of the mindset that he thinks if he helps these aliens colonize, that he'll be given a position of power and enabled to fucking survive, you know? But that's just not the reality.
Yeah, and it's a really good, it's really effective scene. I really enjoy these sequences of dialogue back and forth. The actors both give great performances. I think his name's William Davis, who plays the cigarette smoking man. He does a phenomenal job in the scene, and the actor who plays Jeremiah as well. After Mulder gets the weapon, I think he gets confronted by X after the Jeremiah scene in the cell. So X tells Mulder to hand over the weapon, and Mulder says, "Fuck you. You know, I'm not handing it over. I don't trust you." So the fight scene breaks out between Mulder and X. It's a pretty good fight scene, you know, back and forth. The actor who played X actually like hurt his hand or like broke a bone in his hand doing the fight scene for this scene. But it's pretty good.
Mulder didn't get completely BTFO'd this time.
In most fight scenes, Mulder loses, but this one was a draw between him and X, where they end up both pulling guns on each other and walking away. It was a pretty good fight scene, pretty good sequence. It was really exciting the first time you watch it. You don't know what the fuck's going to happen. Then they find out after that there's multiple Jeremiahs in all these different facilities. They're completely identical, and they're wondering what the fuck's going on. It ends up being revealed that the Jeremiah that put himself into custody earlier, because that's the part of the story we were missing. He put himself into custody, turned himself into Scully. That was the alien bounty hunter, and he's coming to kill fucking Jeremiah. He's got his fucking surgical tool or whatever. And the end sequence is they end up meeting up with Jeremiah, who's like, "I can explain everything."
Yeah, Scully and Jeremiah go to meet Mulder.
Yeah. They go to meet Mulder, and Mulder's skeptical. He's like, how can you prove? Like, go heal my mother. Let's go to get my mother healed and shit like this. And then the alien bounty hunter shows up, and he fucking pops out the knife, and he's fucking coming to kill the motherfucker. And it's holy shit, and that's the cliffhanger, that's the finale going into season 4.
There's also, too, the only other scene is right before that is in Mulder's in the hospital with his mother, and the cigarette smoking man comes in. And Mulder almost shoots him right in the hospital. Goes up and holds the gun to his head and goes, "You want to smoke on that cigarette, or you want to smoke on my gun?" You know? And the cigarette smoking man goes, "Are you giving me a choice?" Sort of jokes. But it's good. The cigarette smoking man is obviously there to try to get more information out of Mulder's mother to fucking find this weapon, you know, but he lies to Mulder and says he's there because he fucking is worried about his mother, you know. And the reason they were arguing was because she thought that he had information about finding fucking Mulder's sister. You know, so he completely fucking lied to Mulder, and Mulder bought it because his emotional attachment to his sister. And the same thing happens in the final scene. The alien's gonna tell him what's going on, but because of Mulder's emotional attachment to his fucking mother, he says, "No, come heal my mother first," right? And ultimately, he should have just put his emotions aside and listen to what the fuck was going on. Get to the bottom of it.
Exactly. All right. Overall, with this episode, Surfer, what would you give it out of 10? What are your thoughts on it? Final thoughts?
I'd give it an 8.1. You know, there's a lot of good ideas on it. Like, you know, like even in the interrogation scene where the alien hybrid was talking to the cigarette smoking man about how he fears him because the people are going to think he's a god, you know, and stuff like that. There's a lot of good ideas around that. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't quite as exciting as some of the other mythology episodes, but it was pretty good. And it leaves you on that cliffhanger for the next episode. It did a good job of that too.
Yeah, I think honestly it doesn't compare to some of the other mythology episodes we've seen. In terms of the overall excitement and shit hitting the fan and things being revealed. There were some interesting pieces added to the mythology with the relationship between the cigarette smoking man and Mulder's mom. That was good. The fight scene with X was pretty fucking good, pretty exciting. The cliffhanger worked really well. The heart of the episode, though, is the prison interrogation scenes with the cigarette smoking man and Jeremiah. And those two performances really shine through. I almost would have liked to see a third scene of that and maybe cut out some of the other fat, maybe give them another 4 or 5 minutes of screen time. But maybe that would have been too indulgent. But I thought that scene really carried the episode on the strength of those performances alone, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I can't give it a 10 because it's nowhere near as good as some of the other episodes, but those performances and the allusions to the Kaczmarov brothers and stuff like that do pull it together, do make it a great episode, and the action and the excitement as well. It's an entertaining episode for sure.
It was really good, and I guess you really hit the nail on the head in the interrogation where the cigarette smoking man came in and he had deluded himself into thinking that what he was doing was for the people and that the alien hybrid guy was self-indulgent, but it ultimately, like, through the interrogation showed how it was actually the cigarette smoking man who's self-indulgent and the alien hybrid guy that's for the people, right?
Yeah, no, that was the case, and it showed that he was totally full of shit because he let him go and fucked over the project in order to get his cancer healed. Now, it was left ambiguous as to whether he did that or not. There's not a scene explicitly showing it, but I've seen the episode, I think, 3 or 4 times now, and I really think that is the case. That's what is meant by that scene and then the cell being empty. That's what I think, but it's kind of left unexplained as like, well, maybe his powers got him out of there, but if that was the case, he would have left the cell way earlier. So I think the only way he got out of there is the cigarette smoking man let him out of his own self-interest and betrayed the supposed principles.
Sure. And it shows like the cigarette smoking man has completely deluded himself into his whole fucking frame of being. And because of that, he's doing fucking great evils. You know, and it shows you should never lie to yourself. You should never delude yourself because then things get twisted and you end up doing the wrong thing.
Alright guys, so that's going to be it for this review of Talitha Cumi. We're going to be back with the Season 4 premiere here in probably an hour's time. Herrenvolk, we're going to watch it. This will probably be our 3rd or 4th watch through of fucking Herrenvolk. And we'll give you our thoughts on it and our rating on it. And then that'll probably be it. We might get one more episode in, but I doubt it.
Oh, I don't know. I gotta work that stuff.
Yeah, so that's probably going to be it for the reviews today, but we're trying to get back on track with the X-Files, get these hammered out for you guys. There are a lot of people who really do enjoy these. It's a pretty niche fucking audience for it, but, you know, the people like it, and the people that don't can get fucked. Again, we do what we do, you know, for fun as well, and it's not always, it's got to be super serious stuff. All right, guys.
Well, the X-Files is super serious.
It's super serious.
Fuck in the real world.
Yeah, a little bit. There's some stuff that's very excellent.
Really entertaining way, you know.
Yes, for the most part, it's entertainment, but there is some things that you can draw out of it that you can apply to the real world, and so it's a great show. It's one of my favorite series that I've seen, and hopefully it doesn't. People say it really starts to fall apart after the 5th and the 6th season. Those 7th, 8th, and 9th seasons are apparently terrible and shit. I don't know.
Well, you never know. You can start to see around here, like, a lot more really paranormal things are starting to come out in the mythology with the alien colonization and everything, whereas in the first couple seasons, like, it's not really clear whether it's a government conspiracy or whether it's actually aliens, right? But now it's sort of firmly been established, and it's building on the more unbelievable end of it. So you can see how it might get a little bit unreal.
It's to the point now. It's starting to get to the point now where, like, Scully being skeptical is kind of retarded. Because after all that she's seen and experienced, it's like, okay, Scully, you're still gonna be like, no, there's no such thing as aliens. You know, come on. It's starting to get a bit fucking retarded. But, you know, they gotta maintain that kind of dynamic to the show or it sort of falls apart. But it's a tough balancing act between, you know, maintaining that dynamic of the skeptic and the believer, and at the same time showing that the believer is totally correct in everything, and that the skeptic's retarded, and then still having the skeptic act the same way. It's starting to get a little bit grating that way, but it is what it is. Hopefully that gets course corrected in the show. Do you got anything else?
No, that's about it.
All right, guys. We'll see you in about 45 minutes to an hour.